Morning, folks.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Patrick, I saw your additional topic. Thanks for adding that.
Yeah, I added the out of band. It shouldn't take long time. I just want to point down something and see if any discussion comes out of it. But it's
Perfect.
not a big deal.
Yeah, great. That'll work really well right there. All right. We should get started. Already recording. I forgot to pause it to take off the preamble for anyone listening. So sorry about any listeners. Anyone viewing this later. But welcome to the November 29th Aries Working Group call. Man, the year's going fast. We have a great meeting today. The antitrust policy and the code of conduct are in effect as this is a hyperledger call. The agenda link is in the chat, and you're welcome to add yourself to the attendees list or make any other adjustments useful for the community. We didn't have a meeting for Thanksgiving last week. I hope those that enjoyed the holiday, and those that didn't enjoyed one less meeting for a change. I have an unreasonable amount of joy whenever a meeting ends up canceled because then I can use the time for other stuff. So it's good work that we do, but having a break can sometimes be very nice. Is anyone new here today that would like to introduce themselves to the community and tell us a little bit about what they do?
Okay, I will introduce myself. I'm new on these calls. I'm Alexander from DSR company, and today I'm going to tell you about Plizac and my research in it.
Excellent. Welcome, Alexander.
Thank you.
All right. I'm glad that you're all here. Any projects want to share release statuses or work updates?
Just one minor update. So we completed our repository reorganization. So now we have sort of one repository, but I would say kind of like two project families. One is focused on the Aries with all the Aries related stuff, and then the other one is DIT core, which aims to be collection of components which are Aries agnostic, stuff like DID parser, DIT document, resolvers, stuff like that. So it's nicer for the eyes when you land onto Aries VCX repo page now, and it's a bit nicely organized. So that's probably the only significant thing right now.
Thank you, Patrick.
Akapai, we've had 0.10.5 release and a 0.11.0 release. The 10.5 release was triggered because of a missing piece of logic in the presentation exchange or the presentation verification of JSON LD credentials. So that was a single change fix, and then 0.11.0 did include that fix, but included a whole pile of other things, a number of things we've had building up over the last month. So 0.11.0 is out and available, and we're already working on the next release. We've got things coming in pretty quickly. One of the things that releasing 0.11.0 did allowed us to put non-breaking additions to the main branch to enable the use of the AnonCreds RS ledger agnostic implementation of AnonCreds. And so that is now included on the main line. There is a new wallet type. The work is not complete yet on that, so we're still working on that's still being worked. I mean, no we involved. I'm not involved in actually doing the work, but I'm helping to coordinate. But the work is getting done to include all of the steps as an additional set of endpoints that can be used. So there's the update.
Excellent. Any other project updates? Steve and I attempted to update the numbers here, but if I've done a poor job, please touch it up.
Yeah, yeah.
Other projects that want to share updates? All right, grateful for all your work. Here's our agenda.
I'll do one more. Sorry, Sam, I'll do one more. We also this week did a bit of a deep dive into the interface between Akapai and Aries Framework JavaScript and IndieVDR, and found there was some changes in understanding between when transitioning from Indie SDK to IndieVDR, and it looks like there's some inconsistencies in how Aries Framework JavaScript is using IndieVDR, such that you can get performance issues on opening up a pool, opening up an Indie ledger. And so anyone who's finding performance issues with things like using a derivative of using either bifold or a derivative of bifold, definitely check in on that. What we've learned from digging into that interface with IndieVDR, there are some things that can be done to make it faster. And we're looking at doing some more stuff to make it more obvious how to use IndieVDR.
Cool. Do you have a link for that, Stephen, that you could add to the notes?
Yeah, let me. Yes.
That would be super helpful. And I know you've got upcoming work too, but like anything that would help people figure that out would be awesome.
Yeah, that slide deck you showed yesterday, Stephen, would probably be great.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And I could probably link to the if I can find the recording can provide that. But yeah, I've got a few links and things to provide.
Totally. Thank you. Excellent. Okay. Thanks for bringing that up. Those conversations are often the most important. So on our agenda today, we have a quick update from the Aries marketing folks that have been working there. We then have a mentorship report, which is fantastic. Some of the mentoring work done by Patrick Stoss. And then we have the Please Act discussion, DSR, and Stephen Curran as necessary. Patrick has a question about the out-of-band protocol to discuss, and then there's an important proposed dates of the here that I want to talk about for the community coordinated update, and also whether we're at the merge state for a handful of these other issues. We're rapidly coming to completion on lots of the prerequisites for this, and so I want to touch on that just briefly at the end. Any adjustments or reordering or additions we want to make before we get going? All right, Helen and Alex.
Yeah, so we had in the Aries marketing meeting just yesterday, a great conversation. We're continuing on the work to not only figure out how to kind of welcome and bring in new folks, developers to the community for contributions, et cetera, but also how to reach out to those sort of business decision makers who are looking at Aries and trying to understand sort of the business value kind of aspect of it. So a few things that we had in mind to accomplish those goals, first being, not first, but one of which it would be a series of reports, kind of short, not necessarily white papers per se, but just some writings that we can kind of collect our thoughts and collaborate on. Again, to reach out to one for developers that's more technical in nature, kind of giving a deep dive of the project, and then one that's more, again, towards the business value of Aries. In order to support that effort, one of the things we will be doing is reaching out to individuals in the community who have been developing solutions, applications of Aries. And so I know that there's so many Aries kind of uses of Aries out in the community. We'd love to learn more about what you're doing and about those uses. So we will be reaching out to folks, kind of chasing folks down to kind of just, again, get a sense of what people are building and what people are finding success with, and kind of, the things that y'all are doing kind of outside the confines of these, the different various meetings. So we talked a little bit about that. So stay on the lookout for some Google forms and things, and requests for more information, for, contributing quotes, et cetera. The other thing that we talked a little bit about, besides, kind of the reports and the kind of community, kind of understanding what's going on in the community, is also potentially doing another interopathon. This was in other parts of the Hyperledger community. This has been successful in getting folks together just outside the confines of, say, the interop profile work that's being done there, but get people in the same virtual room, so to speak, to issue and hold and verify and communicate with one another with their projects. So if this is something that the community finds helpful or would be interested in kind of, exploring the interoperability between, your different applications, it would be something that the marketing working group would love to support and coordinate and get on the books for some time in Q1 of 2024. So I thought I'd throw that out there and see if anybody would be interested in something like that. Start a discussion here if that would be something that you'd like, and we could take the month of December to kind of get all of our I's dotted and T's crossed and get that on the calendar. So I thought I'd bring those items up. Alex, did I miss anything from our discussion yesterday? It was a great discussion, and we encourage everybody to join our next as well.
No, I think you covered it beautifully. Yeah, it was just a really great framing of next steps in really practical ways. So yeah, got a good path forwards.
But Sam, I don't know if we've done an interopathon style event, just kind of show up with what you got and see if it works with what other people have. Have we done something like that in the Aries community specifically?
We have, but it's been a minute. We've
Okay.
actually done a variety of different types of things, but along those lines. But it has been a minute, and I think that would be a really useful thing. We often try to align it around something we're accomplishing as a community, meaning some step we're seeking to accomplish, or something similar to that. And so that, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. There's a variety of ways we can do it, and that's a great discussion to have. So that's really good. I think that trying to pick a target so we can kind of plan on it in advance would be good. And I think we're probably going to run out of time today, but let's talk about that next week on the call to see if we can identify something that we think would be useful to the community that we can do. How's that sound?
Yeah. Right on. Yeah. Let it percolate, and we'll talk about it more in the future. In the future calls, again, just want to get something on the calendar for sometime in Q1 is kind of what we're looking for. Yeah, if anybody else has any thoughts or anything, please don't hesitate to reach out to Alex or myself, who are working primarily on the marketing side of things. So happy to take all suggestions are welcome.
Awesome. Thank you for that, and I've got a note here to remind me that we can discuss this next week and do a little bit of cloud gazing, head scratching about what would be a useful target. So that's fantastic. Cool.
Right on. Thanks.
Any other questions about marketing? All right. Time for our mentorship update. I'll pass the floor.
Hi, yeah, so I'll just introduce our mentee, Swapnil. So Swapnil been working with Aries V6 team for the past 6 months as a part of the Linux Foundation mentorship, and I was in particular working on the UniFi-based wrapper for Aries V6, enabling to build native apps using Aries V6. If Swapnil's works caught your attention, don't hesitate to contact him. I think it will be amazing to retain the talent which we called in here and keep it. So without further ado, I'll give the word to Swapnil.
Hello everyone. My name is Swapnil, and I'll be presenting my findings from the mentorship project, the Aries VCX next gen mobile wrapper. And just let me share my screen. Yeah.
Yep, it's there. We can see our screen.
Okay, so like I said, I was working on the mobile wrapper for Aries VCX, which Aries VCX, like we all know, is in a mature state that presents a great use case for developing mobile consumer-based applications. Up until now, we were doing this using a library, the libvcx, which was sort of responsible for converting FFI bindings to Java and the iOS bindings. But this is sort of a more like a tech 1.0 way of doing things, and we want to change this with new advancements in the UniFi field. So, and it also brings in a great improvement that we don't have to have the burden of maintaining libvcx, which was quite a task. So UniFi is a framework that simplifies this process by creating these bindings, and it makes them available across several environments, most notably across Kotlin and Swift, which now, as we all know, is the de facto standard for developing mobile applications. And so what is Unify? So Unify is a toolkit for building cross-platform applications and components in Rust. What it does is that it provides you a hefty tool that is the Unify bindgen that is used to create to scaffold C-based FFI and to generate these bindings by using your Rust code and wrapping it with the UDL file. It allows us to expose the well-typed functions, the structs, the definitions, and most importantly, the errors into the other programming languages. So
sorry, Swapnil, are you advancing the slides, because we still see the first screen on your the intro screen?
Oh yes, wait.
I'm not sure if the screen sharing got kind of frozen. Seems to be the case, perhaps.
Is it visible right now?
We still just see the first screen. We don't see our mouse moving around. I think it's kind of frozen.
Oh wait, I'll share this once more. Yeah, is my screen visible now?
Well, it says you started screen sharing, but I personally can't see much yet.
Yeah, same for me.
It seems to be working now.
Okay. Yeah, so picking up from where we left, so like introducing, like as soon as we introduced Unify to Aries VCX, we were able to deprecate the libvcx and the consumer wrappers, and we were able to like remove a lot of code, which was and also slim the CI a lot, resulting in faster build times and faster testing as well. And now we end up having a great wrapper that is very easy to maintain, and we can now focus more on serving the mobile consumers with an API that is well suited to their needs, instead of focusing on generating the bindings themselves. So the work has been done on, like, it can be classified into two things, which is, one is developing the API, and the other is the demo application. It has been a lot of care has been taken into making the demo application very accessible for anyone coming into the repository, and the API is well suited for mobile consumers. So it's really easy for you to get started, and we'd love some feedback from people using it. And so this is a small demo for how the application looks and how we're working with it. On the left side, you have the traction UI, and on the right we have the application. So yeah, so we are sort of generating an invitation, and we're using our mobile to accept the invitation, and then we're assigning a credential from the traction. And we'll end up like right now what we're doing is we're receiving a credential by continuously polling, but these things can be improved in the future, and these are the tasks that we'll be focusing on next. Yeah, so like that's where we receive the credentials, and that is where we're listing all the credentials. So now some future work that can be done is that like right now we're using a blocking approach for all the async calls that are done on the Rust side. Now that the Unify has support for async, the next thing that we have to focus on is getting that in. And we have to improve our CI with respect to this particular project, where we are generating, where we are sort of releasing the Android archives and the SDKs right along with the builds, and to also improve the testing on this particular crate. And there are general demo application improvements, like we talked about the polling stuff. So some of the learnings that I have had are related to FFI and the various ways of approaching FFI based solutions. The async and blocking approach, and how we can also instead of not starting with the project, we can use a more a blocking approach and end up having an API that we can right now interact with, and that will be improved upon in the future as well. And definitely the Android application development and everything that has to do with creating very robust applications. And thanks for the time. And I would like to take this moment to thank my mentors, George and Patrick, and Miro and Bogdan. And I would also like to congratulate Nain on her completing her project.
Excellent and fantastic. Any questions? Steve, I know
So
you're
one
a
of the
Unify fan, so I'm anticipating that you're cheering on mutes, Steve.
Oh,
So-
absolutely. Yes, I've been excited about this project and talked to George at length about it since he's with our company, and he and I have collaborated on the Unify. I think this is awesome. Congratulations.
So thanks, Steve.
one of the things we discovered in the in doing the deep dive into IndieVDR is one of the places there are differences is between the two libraries, the Python and the JavaScript, was that the wrapper is different between the two, and there's functionality in the wrapper that's different between the two, and that caused some of the confusion. So having Uni FFI available and generating would be amazing. I think it would be a huge help.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, Stephen. And it's really great that Unify project is also bringing async stuff. So everything will be much smoother now, I suppose.
Excellent. Thank you also to Patrick for being the mentor through that project for 2 projects and having done such a great job with that. We appreciate that as a community and grateful for your efforts there. Next on the agenda, Stephen or DSR, either way, about Pleasac.
Yeah, hello. I will tell about it. Let me share my screen. I hope you see my screen.
We do.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Alex. I'm from DSR company, and I have done some research in Pleasac, and initial idea was try to implement support for Pleasac in Akapai project, but I faced some challenges, and I will tell you about it. Okay, first of all, I would like to say thank you, Stephen Curran, because we discussed a lot while I was working on it, and the initial version of this presentation was started by created by him, and I updated it. Okay, let's start from Pleasac. Pleasac, it is a decorator that allows the agent to ask ACK message from another agent, and there are 2 arguments of it. First argument is receipt. If the agent attaches a receipt argument in Pleasac decorator, the agent asks another one to say to send ACK message as soon as the message is received. And another option of Pleasac is outcome. Outcome allows the agent to request ACK message when the decorated message outcome is achieved. It is a when the result is successful, second agent can send ACK message about it. Okay, a bit about receipt option. Receipt option support implementation probably could be relatively straightforward because it is independent on protocol being executed, and the only thing that is that needs to be done is to send ACK message as soon as some decorated message is received by agent, and there is no any condition, and just sending one message, and that's it. And probably it could be implemented like some message handler that can detect please ACK decorator and send a message, send ACK message. But actually, I found that maybe it is not so easy, and at least there is a challenge in implementation of it. I'm speaking about message type. First question that we can first question about it, what the message type should we use? Is the ACK message should be from notification family, or it should be adopted by each protocol? And unfortunately, the answer on this question doesn't define in is not defined in Plizac RFC document. But I would say it is important because we need to create some implementation in such a way that it should be compatible with all Aries agents implementations. And to do it, we need to know exactly which message type we should use, and I think maybe it should be defined in document. I mean, Plizac RFC document. Currently, there is no such information, and that's a challenge for us. We don't need, we don't know how to implement it. There are some possible options, but it's just like what we can use. I mentioned it. Okay, sorry, I forgot to say that I have created some small design document, and it is a pull request in Akapai project, and I have mentioned everything what I'm speaking about. I have mentioned in this document. I will share link later. Okay, and returning to our challenges. Yeah, let's continue with outcome. Outcome option of Plizac have I found some additional challenges. For example, definition of outcome is protocol specific thing, because different protocols have different outcomes and different time when it appears. And you can say that Plizac with outcome option is rarely useful other than the last message of protocol. Only last messages probably should be decorated with such Plizac decorator to be useful. If it is not a last message, for example, maybe first message of protocol, and it is decorated with Plizac, probably the best idea is just to ignore it. I mean, to ignore Plizac decorator and only send the next message according to the protocol. But of course, actually, I have mentioned that we can send both messages, ACK message and next message of the protocol. But in such case, ACK will be useless. I just mentioned it, but I think the first option is better, of course. Another thing that we can consider like a challenge, it is a that fact that outcome decorator, outcome option in PleaseACK decorator affects the states of protocol. And for example, if you speak about basic message protocol, basic message, it is a protocol when one agent may send single message to another one, and that's it, nothing else. And the problem with it that if we decorate basic message with outcome, we extend lifetime of the of this protocol, and we need to update states of protocol, because currently basic message doesn't have any specific states. It's only only single communication, one message from one agent to another one. But if we use outcome, we need to introduce one more state in basic message protocol, something like waiting for ACK or something like that. And the first agent sender should transit to special state and wait for ACK in response. Another question that we should define for each protocol, we should define where outcome appears. For example, present proof protocol, we have to decide when does present proof protocol end. Maybe it ends when the presentation message is received, or maybe it ends when presentation message cryptographically verified, or maybe when controller accept this presentation. And it is a question that should be answered before implementation. Another challenge was, I don't know, maybe it is only ACK specific, but anyway, I have mentioned it in my slides, because I found that if we implement, if we want to implement outcome support, we can have possible incompatibility issue between different ACK agent, ACK versions of agents, because for example, the protocol issue credential currently in ACK has ACK messages, and ACK messages is let's say hard-coded right now, and it works in such a way when holder receive verifiable credentials from issuer and always send ACK message, and issuer always is waiting for this ACK before transition to the done state. And it works, it is how it works right now. But if we implement PleaseACK and outcome support, our new version of code, I mean, holder will send ACK message only when please ACK is attached to the verifiable credential message. But for example, issuer that based on previous version of code, okay, not previous, let's say current version of code, because it is current version. Issuer will be waiting for ACK messages, ACK message, and it will never transit to done state because holder doesn't send ACK. It is a problem. Maybe it is possible to resolve it using discovery protocol. I have mentioned it in the design document that I have created as a pull request, but currently it doesn't look simple solution. Other challenges, okay, maybe it is not so difficult, but we need to extend a controller API, because we have to provide some additional API to controller to let the controller decide if please ACK should be sent or not. Currently, we don't have such API. And yeah, proposals, actually, they are created by Steven Curran, but I will tell you about probably possible proposals. First of all, maybe it makes sense to revert the protocol to proposed state and drop it from Aries interop profile, or maybe just drop only outcome option because it seems more difficult to implement, or wait for someone to see what others do with please ACK. Yeah, that's it from my side. Yeah, thank you.
Alex, thank you. I will offer by context that DIDCOM v2 changes please ACKs in an important way. We recognize that, and you highlighted really well, the complexities of determining outcome, and that's complicated. We recognize that, and so the only ACKs that are present in the spec of DIDCOM v2 is asking for ACKing the receipt of a message, and that any other sort of outcome-based acknowledgements or anything else should be handled within the protocols themselves, as they have, of course, a much better awareness of what an outcome is, or even protocols that have perhaps several different outcomes that you might need to specify. And so there's from that perspective, like not using the outcome side of things would be definitely desirable. And so that's all I really have by context. The other thing to mention is that the ACKs is simply by message ID. There's a way to ask for an ACK for a current message, for the current message, and it comes back as a header instead of an independent message. It can be on any message as it comes, but that's the way it's been designed there. So I, for one, have no problem dropping or dropping the on outcome piece of that of ACK from AIP2 at all. I have zero contest for that. I'm not necessarily opposed to dropping the whole thing from AIP2, but certainly the on outcome I think is worth dropping.
Yeah,
I think
thank you.
I think we might as well drop the whole thing, given nobody's done it. And what I'd like to propose is we put in a PR to
to the Please Act decorator. I think moving it to proposed and providing detail that we've learned from this, because Alex has learned a whole lot and has done stellar work at figuring it all out and making it clear where the challenges are going to be. And then we do another PR to AIP2 to drop it from the requirement, given that the major frameworks aren't implementing it. So we can get those PRs in and then debate them. We probably need, Sam, I was thinking about that. We probably need some of this Aries working group time to deal with some of the PRs that are in the Aries RFCs. There's more building up, and we should see if we can close some of them.
Definitely. Also, no disagreement there.
Yeah. Okay.
Any comments, or is anyone opposed to dropping Please Act from AIP2 and the other changes that Stephen and Alex have mentioned? Okay, we have a whole bunch of non-vocally unopposed. I am vocally unopposed. Changes. And thank you for doing this work to digging in and drawing some attention here. So, yep, Daniel agrees in chat.
Yeah, I would note that this is the only thing as far as, it's the only, obvious thing that AIP2 is not complete. And I believe all three of the, certainly in Akapai, from having AIP2 complete. So dropping it would make me feel better that all the check marks are there.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Okay, thank you all.
Thanks,
excellent,
Alex.
good work.
Awesome.
By the way, if someone's curious about the DIDCOM v2, I just dropped the link here in the chat. That if you're curious about how acts have been written in there. Cool. Next on the agenda, we have Patrick with your question about out of band. Would you like to share, or could I share?
Yeah, I'll share. I'll try to make it quick. So, and this will be probably most efficient. So I created a issue under Aries RFCs. And what I'm basically want to point out here is that in out-of-band protocol as it exists today, there's two ways how services field can be set up. It's an array, and there can be either DIDs or there can be these embedded services. So if it's DID, you are supposed to resolve the service, and if it's service, you just have the service. Now, so I don't know. Now I don't know what's the adoption of this format, but I find it that it's kind of obsolete today. Like nowadays, you can just use did peer and embed your entire did doc into the services. And it's much sort of nicer in terms of symmetry that, whatever there is, whether there's a did to be resolved on a ledger or a did peer, in both cases, you end up with a did doc. Whereas the current design is somewhat asymmetric, that you either have a DID, which you have to resolve into did doc, or you have this like individual service, but not the rest of the did doc, and just kind of have to, I guess, infer the did doc yourself, kind of build it up internally, and then do something with, with the out-of-band invitation itself based on that. So what I would like to propose, and what I noticed also is in DIDCOM v2, basically the services was replaced by the field from, which is only a single DID, which I think that was probably kind of a lesson taken from this design. And I just wonder how feasible it is for the current implementations to the community to have some sort of amendment, a phasing out of this embedded format in favor of DIDs only. Because speaking for Aries v6 implementation, this would greatly simplify, a lot of complexity. So yeah, I don't know what's the thinking, but this was something we ran into as we were implementing the exchange recently.
So we haven't shown a light here recently, but this aligns very well with the deprecation of unqualified DIDs. You could still do this, except that with everything being a fully qualified DID, then this makes it substantially easier to make that happen. We also have DID rotate, which solves the problem of moving away, of course, from the keys that are present, if necessary, and if you want to do it outside of the DID exchange protocol. And so I think that this is really good. I had not considered actually, adding a note to the out-of-band RFC for DIDCOM v1 that officially deprecates the inclusion of inline services rather than just specifying a DID. But I actually really like that approach. I think it aligns really well with the work that we've done elsewhere, and then simplifies and standardizes it on not treating pure DIDs as a special case as we did before. You are also totally correct. The DIDCOM v2 changes were informed in part by the stuff that we've learned here. So I plead no contest to this as well. I think that the suggestions that you offer are good. Any thoughts or stuff that I've gotten wrong or missed? Daniel's also mentioning in chat here that Akamai and AFJ both use inline services, which is good.
Yeah, so I guess just to comment on that, a change there, deprecation would require some changes to Akamai and AFJ at least to get to a level of interop again. Of course, right now I'm actually in the middle of dealing with interop issues between Akamai and AFJ on the out-of-band and DID exchange front. So I think there are changes necessary, at least on the Akamai side, certainly. And I think there's intended updates on the AFJ side as well in order to add support for DID peer 2 at least, and hopefully DID peer 4 as well. Yeah. It would require changes in both of those frameworks.
Yes. The other question is do we just focus on getting to DIDCOM v2 to avoid that problem? And there's an implicit question of how long we think that's going to take.
So if I remember correctly, when the screen was being shared earlier, I saw we were talking about an invitation and not including the services block and just including the DID. And while that does work with, say, like DID peer 2, it does make me kind of worry and wonder about if someone sends like a DID key or DID PLC or something else, DID ion.
So the official line on that is that DIDCOM requires service endpoint support to work, which means you technically could, but the defined behavior is to simply not respond because you're incapable of it, right?
Yep.
So I think that's kind of already an out of scope thing that we don't really have to worry about.
Well, in theory, you're supposed to be able to deal with any DID that you want to be able to deal with. But I think you just said that, but just to be clear, the DID has to have a service endpoint. So if you have a DID ion with a service endpoint, you could use the universal resolver to get the services endpoint, a DID communication services endpoint, and carry on. Right? Am I not right there?
But the question there is, what if the DID itself does not contain the
like it's a DID key or it's one of the
I mean it must contain. Yeah, the requirement is it must contain a service endpoint. Absolutely, that is an absolute requirement.
This is implicit in our discussion, but explicitly, it must contain a DIDCOM service endpoint. Right?
Yes,
like any old endpoint won't do.
Exactly. Yes. It must contain a DIDCOM service endpoint.
Officially, DIDCOM supports any DID that contains a DIDCOM service endpoint, which I think is completely reasonable and straightforward. And so I'm not very worried. And if someone were to pass a DID in any case where we pass a DID that doesn't have that does not resolve to something that contains a DIDCOM service endpoint, then that's like you log it and don't worry about it, right? That's like not a thing we have to really solve. Totally. Okay, we have 5 minutes left. So I think, Patrick, we have resolution on this, which means that we at least calling this out would be a good idea, and we may want to mark as deprecated the inclusion of an inline service endpoint like this. Daniel correctly mentions that would require updates to existing software packages, and then the any move to DIDCOM v2 renders this a moot point anyway. Simply because it doesn't use the exchange protocols. It does still have out of band, but already designates that a DID must be included. Any further topic on there? Okay.
You guys mentioned that it must have a DIDCOM service endpoint. Are there use cases that would be valuable not to specify a DIDCOM service endpoint?
Not with DIDCOM.
Not with DIDCOM. You literally can't do anything with DIDCOM unless you can send a message to the other party.
So one of the thoughts I had here would be to indicate a QR code or something that you could say you must have an already established connection to this DID, and you could use that as a more secure method of saying I'm not going to disclose my endpoint because I already this QR code assumes that you already have a connection.
Well, the mechanism to do that would be to include just use a DID peer for DID in the short form of it, which says you can talk to me if you already know about me. If you don't already know about me, then you can't.
Yeah.
And we don't need to change the mechanism of DIDCOM itself in order to accomplish that. I think that leaning and still remaining on like a DID with a DIDCOM service endpoint is necessary. You can say that the DID must be resolvable by the recipient to include a DIDCOM service endpoint, which means that if you were to include the short form of a DID peer for, and then it would be resolvable to anyone that was already aware of that. I think would be good. I apologize. Nan, I'm not sure how to say your name, but your hand is up. Please tell us what's on your mind.
Yes. So I had a small question. Would this cause a chicken and egg problem when an agent that can't expose a service endpoint, like a mobile device, tries to connect to a mediator?
No, because you can specify as a service endpoint, and that's a good question, but it's a special case. And Daniel will probably step in here to correct me in a second. But you can specify that you are expecting to show up and pick up messages from a mediator because of the inability to do so. But for all other relationships outside of an agent and its mediator, the service endpoint is necessary. I was trying to remember if we had an official thing that we actually said you put in your service endpoint to indicate that you would be picking up messages, but it only applies in the narrow case of talking to the mediator that a mediator that you're coordinating with for the sake of sort of broader communication.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So perhaps there should be some sort of indicator there. Like there is already a HTTP return route decorator, but like when actually connecting with the mediator, we would need something to fill into that service endpoint place.
Daniel, or Colton, maybe a better answer here. What do we stick in there in our mediator work to indicate that you're going to be picking up the messages? It's a URI, so you still have an endpoint in the place that a URI is used, but it's a fixed value that indicates it's the non-routable destination.
Yeah, I pasted the value that we use to indicate that you're going to pick up messages into the chat. It's didcom::transport/q. And that is
Thank you.
that is the magic value.
Thank you. Yeah, that looks useful.
Absolutely. Okay, so I have 1 minute. In our the community coordinated update around, there's been lots of discussion, but updates since that avoid those issues with move to DID Peer 4. The updates that I have in here, I have split the target dates for code update and deployment on step 1. Step 1 indicates that code bases and deployments must be updated, and so to sort of set an intermediate date for this phase, I've picked a date here that I hope we can do. And we can argue about this, and please comment on the PR if necessary. And then here's the oh, I misspelled 4. But here's the target date for the actual deployment of these things. And with the idea there that we can coordinate both on getting the code updated and then getting the deployments based on the code updated as well. And then for phase 1, and this allows us to understand that the necessary things are involved, including DID rotation and DID Peer 4 support. And so that's the idea there. So DID rotation and DID Peer 4 are the requirements for completing step 1. And then in step 2, we no longer use unqualified DIDs and use DID rotation to rotate away from for any existing relationships to rotate away from them. At that point. So we're out of time, and we'll bring this up again, but please take a look at this. Take a look at your ability to both update the code bases that you're working on as necessary. I know this is underway, and we've had discussions a lot previously. And then also consider that if this date is met, then how fast you can get your code deployed in the wild to make this actually occur. So please take a look at that, comment on this PR so that we can get these updated with dates that we can reasonably hit as a community, and we will discuss this next week as well. Any final comments? Excellent. I hope you all have a fantastic week. Thank you for all of your work, and we will see you around.
Thank you.